My name is Zara, and I've always believed that the loudest feelings are the ones we never say out loud. That belief began one summer afternoon in the quiet corner of a library when a stranger changed my life without uttering a single word. It was the summer after my father passed away. I was 27, still living in the same small coastal town where I'd grown up. The ocean was 5 blocks from my apartment, and the sound of waves always found a way into my dreams. But after his death, even the waves felt quiet. Grief turned everything soft. My laughter, my voice, even the way I walked felt like a whisper. I stopped going out, stopped answering calls. I went to work at the art supply store in the mornings, came home, and visited the library in the afternoons. It became my escape, a place where no one asked how I was doing and no one expected me to pretend I was fine. That's where I first saw him. He was always in the same seat, third row from the back, beside the large window where sunlight spilled across the wooden floor. I noticed him because he was still, the kind of stillness that radiated peace. He never wore headphones or used his phone. He simply read, wrote in a black notebook, and looked up every now and then as if he was watching the wind pass by. I never heard him speak. He didn't look at anyone for long. His gaze was always elsewhere, out the window, on the pages, in the space between. But one day our eyes met, and that moment shifted something inside me. We didn't speak, not that day, not the next, but I found myself drawn to that corner. I'd sit across from him, several tables away. I'd open a book but barely read it. My eyes always wandered to him, and slowly he noticed me too. It was subtle, a glance, a tiny smile, the way he paused when I entered, as though he'd been waiting. One afternoon I dropped a pencil while sketching. It rolled near his chair. He picked it up and handed it back. Our fingers didn't touch, but it felt like they did. He smiled softly. I smiled back. Still, not a word passed between us, but something was building. One day, I brought my sketchbook. I began drawing quietly. The view from the library window, the curve of the trees outside, the sunlight on the floor. He watched. Then, without asking, he pulled out his notebook, wrote something, tore out the page and slid it across the table. "It's beautiful. You see light in a way most people miss." I looked up at him, surprised. He gestured to his ears, then his lips. That's when I realized he was deaf. Suddenly, everything made sense. The silence, the calm, the way he always listened with his eyes. I wrote back, "Thank you. I haven't drawn much since my father died." He read the note carefully. Then slowly he wrote, "I'm sorry for your loss. When my sister passed, I couldn't draw for a year." Every afternoon we exchanged notes. About books, about art, about loss. We didn't talk with our voices, but we communicated more clearly than I had with anyone in years. I learned his name was Eli. He was 30, moved to town 6 months ago, worked remotely as a translator for captioning software. He'd lost his hearing in his teens after a car accident, and he'd lost his sister 2 years later. "Pain makes everything quiet," he wrote once, "but connection brings back the sound, in different ways." Our connection grew deeper. We started drawing together, me with my pencils, him with charcoal. Sometimes we'd sketch side by side, without writing anything at all, just sharing space, breathing the same quiet air. One day he handed me a folded piece of paper. "Would you come to the beach with me?" I nodded. That evening we walked barefoot on the sand. The sun was sinking low, the waves crashing softly. He carried a notebook and I brought mine too. He stopped suddenly and wrote, "Do you ever miss who you were before the grief?" I thought for a long time before answering. "I think I miss the version of me who believed nothing could shatter." He read it. Then he nodded slowly and wrote, "You're still whole, just softer, stronger than before." I didn't know what to say. My throat ached, my chest felt full. I didn't need to speak. I reached out and gently touched his hand. He held it, and for the first time in over a year, I felt like myself again. We never needed a lot of words. In a world full of noise, we found each other in the quiet, through drawings, notes, glances, through silent communication. Over time, Eli taught me sign language, slowly, patiently. We practiced every week. I stumbled, messed up, laughed nervously, but he was kind, encouraging. And I began to understand that language isn't just about sound, it's about intention, about presence, about connection. He didn't just teach me signs, he taught me to listen differently. 6 months later, I moved out of my apartment and into a small cottage closer to the sea. Eli helped me paint the walls. We didn't talk much that day, but we smiled more than ever. There was a moment, while we stood on the porch watching the sunset, when I turned to him and signed, slowly. "I'm happy." He looked at me, eyes shimmering. Then he signed back. "Me too." People asked us how we fell in love. I always smile when they do, because how do you explain the magic of a glance across a library table, the comfort of someone sitting beside you when your heart feels broken, the beauty of a silent connection that says more than words ever could? My name is Zara, and I met the love of my life without ever hearing his voice, but I felt everything he wanted to say. Because sometimes words aren't necessary, sometimes silence speaks loudest.
We didn't speak.